Welcome everybody to Clarksburg Select Board Meeting, November 25th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first on the agenda, I know last meeting we talked about the animal control officer, and I didn't know, I'm kind of anxious to pick one. I didn't know if anybody had any questions, or if we should just go ahead, or what do you think you want to do? We can also table it the next Monday.
Well, we didn't get any clarification yet on the use of the facility yet, did we?
We didn't.
Gotcha. If you want to table that, I will reach out to her this week and check in with her on that.
Okay,
So like, just so we're kind of clear on that before we make a decision.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to table the vote of the animal control officer, just so people know we had two applicants, and we interviewed them both. I was hoping to make a decision soon, because we need one, but we're waiting for some information for one of them back, so we're tabling it to next week. Next on the agenda, I'm assuming everybody's here, is we're going to discuss a search for a new town administrator. And just to give a little background, we were in executive session with Carl last Monday, and after, I think we were here about an hour of discussion, we did not come to a unanimous decision, but we came to a decision that we would like to post the job. We did tell Carl that he can apply for it, but I understand that he told me later that he was kind of blindsided by it, which I know he was, and I think he just, was upset, which I don't blame him. So I know he went to, he had a meeting with the with the Briggsville Water District. I know he told everybody there, and I know Chuck, you're here from the Finance Committee, and Kyle, you're here from DPW. John, you're from the Water District. Cleve, you also, besides Conservation Commission, and Suzanne from the Historic Commission. So I think we're willing, because we want to be open and honest with everybody. I think we're open for all your thoughts or what you think on that. So does anybody want to say anything? Here.
I guess I'd like to, the decision kind of puts the town kind of in a little quagmire, doesn't it, without a town administrator? And how long do you think this process will take? Is there any other way where Carl could be somehow temporarily still in his position until you found somebody? Or, I know it's a very sour thing where, if you're not going to, and it's also kind of insulting if you say, we're going to put the job out, and you can apply for it. What it's really saying is, we don't find somebody better, we'll keep it, is what you're saying. That's how I would take it.
I mean, he did refuse, we tried working with him with a contract and, for a different term, and he was not willing to work, with that. Unfortunately, we did throw out some options that would work, and he, we just pretty much, we couldn't come to contract terms with him on that.
So is that kind of closed off now?
I think he knows.
I mean, you wouldn't reach out and say, I would imagine he was pretty emotional about it. So, sometimes if somebody's in the heat of the moment, they might say, fine, I'm out of it, I'm not going to listen to anything.
I think he's kept his stance pretty clear since last Monday.
So we would start a process of putting it out to bid or open applicants. And
What do we want? So there was, I think, some discussion about.
Okay, just so, this was an executive session, but a decision was made, so all executive session minutes are become public, so we may talk about it.
Okay. There was, I think, a request, at least a discussion about an increase in salary to basically bring compensation somewhat level with other municipalities. Obviously, it's hard to get a true, gauge of, because obviously the municipalities throughout the region are vary at a, quite an extensive level. With the increase, there was discussed. We thought as though the increase from the existing salary to what was being proposed would open up opportunities and increase the pool of applicants that weren't necessarily, I think, interested parties before during previous searches. That was kind of the thought and theory, that if we do raise the salary level, that at that point we would post it to see if we could get some qualified applicants. Good.
Claude?
Is there a system that you use to, like an employee performance review system? Do you use that sort of thing, or do you just bushwhack your people, you know? I don't know, I haven't heard any discussion about why, you know, was Carl doing a bad job? Was he not doing what you told him to do? That sort of thing?
We do not have a review, which I think is something that is sadly missing this town. We should be reviewing the town administrator at least annually. They're usually a 3-year contract. And if there's issues, I think they should come up and we should do it more. Again, in this, I can only speak for myself, and we all have different viewpoints. It's not like there's right and wrong. I'm just gonna say what happened with me, with Carl. The first year I was here, I thought we were in a mess, and after the year, I sort of just kept a low profile because I wanted to see what was going on. When Carl said his contract was coming up, we did have a meeting, a select board meeting, and I did tell him his good points and bad points. I felt that was something he was owed. I did have a couple issues. Minor one is I felt that he needs to act professional, like have his office clean, little things like that. But there's also, I wanted to make sure he was communicating with the new employees well and doing everything right. And I think he was really surprised because if nobody says anything, you assume you're doing a great job. But with that, I didn't tell him that I wasn't going to look out for him in a year or whatever. I just said, these are things I think you can improve on. These are things I think you're doing good on. The good thing with Carl that I see is he's very dedicated. He knows the history of the town. He lives here. He works for a reasonable price. When we had the storms, like when we had that storm, July 10th, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, he's out looking at things. So there's a lot of good points to Carl. But other than that, I come in at least once, sometimes twice a week, and I try to talk with Carl about things going on. So in this last year, I've had a pretty good relationship with him, and that's why I voted not to discontinue his contract. I want to have more discussion, but that was that. So I can only give you my point of view, and Dan, if you want to give yours, now's the time to do it.
No, I mean, I like Carl. He's a great guy. I've had my frustrations and with inaccurate information multiple times. I wasn't against keeping him on, but I wasn't comfortable with a 3-year contract. I was willing to possibly keep him on for another year and just kind of see how that went, and he refused even considering a 1-year contract with a significant pay increase. So,
I'm just curious about the review system. I think maybe it's needed. I think, Bob, I think you're probably familiar with the employee review system that the state uses. I think it's reasonable. It identifies problems that you're having. It gives people an opportunity to improve. You discuss what's going to happen afterwards. I don't want to see this start happening to other employees throughout the, our little town here. This type of review system, do they use it for the DPW? Do they use it for any other employees?
No, I don't know of any review system. Kyle, have you ever had?
I mean,
None? No, it's sorely needed.
when you come on to people like that, just out of the blue, I hate to say it's not fair, but there are laws that need to be followed in a lot of cases. And I don't want to see the town get in trouble.
Right. I agree, and also, politics is a dirty game, of course, and all government is, as far as you never know who's coming and going quick, because there's 3-year terms and things go.
But
But as a
this
human,
isn't politics, these are employees.
yes, and that's what I was gonna say, we gotta look at the human aspect of it. Human beings have a right to know how they're doing, and we sorely are lacking that, and that's, being chairman, that I take full credit for that. I had even a better review than the state. I did not like the state's review. I thought it was awful, but I had one from industry. I had one from industry that I helped put together. It was excellent, and I think we really need to have that, and at least talk with the department heads, and the department heads can talk to their employees, and we talk to people in here, because people need to know where they stand. And I think that's where I was bothered the most. I felt Carl especially, and myself a little bit, we were sort of blindsided. I thought, I came in with discussion ready about the compromising salary and how was he going to work and this and that, and it was like, sorry, that wasn't what the conversation was. It was that, no, we want to search for another one. So, I don't think I agree with you. I think we need to look at the human aspect of it over the years. It's hard to just let somebody thinks he's doing a good job and nail him, but,
Well, it's meant to improve a person's job, show them where they're lacking.
yeah. Well, that's true, and there's always better people out there. I mentioned last week, there's somebody can do my job better, somebody can do your job better. There's better people out there. We're not the best at what we do. And when I was in industry, I was a manager for 15 years, and I always felt you try to work with the people you have and bring the best out of those people. You only get rid of somebody if they can't do the job, or they're doing something inappropriate, illegal, or whatever. You always try to bring the best out of it, and I think we sort of failed at, I'll say me, because I'm not going to speak for Colton or Dan, but I think we sort of failed in that aspect. And I thought I was helping, communicating with Carl to improve him, and then he was improving me also, talking a lot. So anyway, that's where we are. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Chuck?
This is my first year. I was on a finance committee back in the late 70s, but this is the first year I've been back. The process this year was much more detailed than it was back then. We were able to meet with all the department heads or key employees, except I don't think we met with Kelly, but we met with everyone else. It was all arranged by Carl. He kind of walked us through the budget process. John's wife Carla was on the committee. But we met with the department, like I said, all the department heads. There's some things in regard to the budget that we learned. For example, there's certain line items, if you don't renew it, you lose it. Like the library. If you don't appropriate the money, it goes away. Is Carl the supervisor of the staff in the town hall there?
He is the supervisor, but he is not their boss per se, so he cannot just fire somebody. It has to go through the select board. The select board is in charge of town hall. Carl is the town administrator, so yes, he works with these people and he's like their supervisor. He's supposed to have communication with them all, but he is not their boss per se.
Okay, now, as far as the length of the contract, I think Carl's getting close to retirement. He probably was trying to get one final contract to finish his working career. When would his final day be?
His final day, I believe, is going to be the day after Christmas, that week,
The 27th.
the 27th.
Okay, and the only other thing, and you mentioned it, his knowledge of the town, what's happened in the town. We have a very good staff here at Town Hall now, but there's not a lot of experience here. And I'm just worried with the lack of, not a lot of experience at Town Hall, what would happen. I know a few years ago, we had a woman town administrator who abruptly left. And I talked to the town accountant at the time. I wasn't involved with finance or anything. But this particular person never leaned on anyone in this building, never asked them questions, always called the town attorney. We were over budget in a legal line item before half the year was done. And that's what concerns me about, I mean, whoever you bring in, they've got to lean on Kelly and these other people, rather than marching off to a town attorney and getting a $200 an hour bill. And you know, that's the thing that would concern me.
I understand everyone's concern. Change is hard. Unfortunately, change is inevitable. I think looking to the future, I will say this, I think Carl's dedicated a lot of his life to the town. I think he's done a steady performance. I think he's managed with the system that he's had in place. He's been able to maintain and obviously recover after the transition from the last town administrator. My outlook on this entire process was the town needs a representative that can go to the state, go to our elected officials, have a professional relationship that's beneficial for the town, not only for grants, funding, etc. It's well respected. I don't think that there was an issue of Carl not being respected. I just, in my strongest opinion, obviously working outside the area, seeing kind of different forms of government, different levels of government, how they operate, I feel strongly it's in the town's best interest to move forward, move to the future, find a active and eager town administrator that's willing to pursue some areas that I don't think they were pursued aggressively before, and I think now's the time to make that change.
Can I ask what areas you're talking about?
For with Carl, or?
Yeah.
I think the grant funding, not to say that my thought and decision on this did not hinge on the success rate of grant applications. It just, from outside conversations, and it's just some general consensus from, I think, state level officials to local officials, etc. Carl's stance or status with some of those governing bodies was not held in the highest regard, which for me was a concern, because at the end of the day, this all comes down to money. You have to, we're a town with very limited assets, very limited funding. Every year, as Chuck knows, the Finance Committee, every year it's an absolute battle to try to pull this together. This was my first year, I was just serving on the board, got thrown into it immediately out of the gate during budget season, saw the back and forth and how the battles kind of progress with the school and how that all plays out. At a bigger county water issue, I think the school issue is not going away, and the funding source and renovations or however that's going to be addressed, the infrastructure needs for that project. A lot of that is taken into consideration of how are we going to progressively go after, I think, some of these big ticket items, these big ticket issues moving forward. Not to say Carl couldn't manage and get by to address those issues. I just feel as though at this time, an outside perspective and a new, fresh approach was in the best interest. That was where my stance was kind of at.
Thank you. There are several committees, and the Water District is one group that, other than the school, that needs a lot of attention. There's 200 people that rely on that water source. There's a lot of grants that Carl had gotten for us, several, and we're in the middle of several of those grants. Who is going to take those grants and run with them? Who's going to oversee those grants?
I can answer if you want me.
Well,
This is a discussion.
Eventually, it'll have to be the town administrator, no matter who it may be.
Who will in the meantime?
In the meantime, it will fall upon the select board, and we're gonna have to discuss that, because I'll be honest with you, being chairman, I suppose it's gonna fall on me a lot of this, but I'm already on MVP and the design with MVP. I go to the opioid, I'm on the committee, I'm going to the cable thing, and we're gonna have to discuss who can go to these meetings and take over. I don't know if Colton and Dan can, or whatever, but, at least I know Courtney Morehouse, so, I can make sure that nothing's gonna fall through the cracks. But somebody's gonna have to go to a meeting, and somebody's gonna have to figure this out, and, I don't know which one of us it may be until we get a new administrator.
Because you guys did pledge to, stay in contact, close contact, and allow us to start using some of the services
Yep.
here at Town Hall. It's going to be difficult now.
It is, Carl is definitely a big
We
part
want
of
to
that.
have the liaison.
Yep,
Thank you.
yep. Dan, is there anything you wanna add, or? Yeah, what's that?
I'm good.
I think at the point we're at, because time is of the essence, especially with Thanksgiving coming up and the holidays, and hearing tonight, I don't think we'll have a different vote if we take it, or we're gonna ask Carl to come back. I think we need to proceed with advertising it. And I would suggest anybody that really feels that Carl should still be our town administrator should chalk him into applying for it. Because I agree with you, John. I know myself, any of us, when we're blindsided or when something bad happens and we get emotional, we have a tendency just to shut down. And he said he wouldn't, and he said he wouldn't go for a year, because we did try to have that compromise that night. But I agree with you, I can't blame him. I think he was upset, and was just, never mind, and left. So I would say that that's what we have to do. If people want him, talk him into applying for it, and we'll see what else we get. And I know myself, and Dan and Colton will make the best decisions we can when the time comes. But I really don't want to postpone this, because we're going to end up at the end of December not having it out or not having a replacement. Like you say, there's a lot of things on the table. MVP is really coming up with the design and everything. And plus, we just had a meeting, Cleve and I and person from DEP had a meeting about the flooding up at Crossroad area, which Carl is involved completely with, and I'm worried about that project also. But anyway, that's the best I think we can do. Carla,
I know I'm late, but is there any discussion as to what you're going to offer for this salary?
That's what we're going to discuss now.
That's going to be a concern,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then let's say it's open meeting, you can all stay for that. But Dan and Hilton, you agree with that? We just move on with the...
Yeah, I think, like you said, Bob, I think time is of the essence. Wishful thinking, I think, kind of aspirational in this regards. We post this, it's listed. Hopefully we can have a fairly accelerated response to any applicants. If we can make the decision, I think sooner rather than later, to hopefully facilitate a smooth transfer of administration, if we do make that selection. Like I said, perfect world, this is all wrapped up and done before Carl's contract officially expires on the 27th.
Cleve?
Will all the discussion about the selection, will it be open?
How that works, interviews and everything are usually open unless the person that we're interviewing, I was told, and Tammy said no, but I was told if the person's interviewing requests an executive session because it may affect their other job they're in or anything like that, that we could grant that. I'll have to look in to see if that's legal or not, but normally we have these open, and usually people are open. So I plan on having them open unless somebody tells me different.
The police chief interviews, those are all, so those are all open as well, so.
And the discussion will only happen in a meeting?
In a separate meeting.
In an open meeting?
Open meeting laws, they have to.
Right. No discussion?
I know, but if people don't know the open meeting
I just
law,
find it hard to believe the whole thing wasn't discussed previous to this with Carl.
I had none.
Yeah.
I had none with either select board member or
No.
Carl. But the open meeting law, we bump into each other, we sometimes go to parties and people are there, but the select board or officials cannot discuss anything that is going to come to a decision. So, again, I didn't, and I can only talk for myself.
Thanks.
Okay. Kelly, I thought you had your hand raised. Sorry. Okay, so we're here now to discuss how we're going to post this, what we're going to have for a salary, and I guess I can start. I thought in these times with all our salaries that Clarksburg is not keeping up with the rest of the towns, and Kyle will tell you we're trying to get a fourth guy on board for the DPW, and we just can't compete. So I think we're going to have to raise it. Carl, I believe, is making $63,000 or $64,000 a year. He wanted 75, which again I thought that was what the debate was going to be. I don't think that's necessarily unreasonable on a high end, but I would like to see it a range, and I'd like to see it like from 70 to 75,000, depending on experience. And then the second thing I'd like to see in there is they normally work 32 hours a week for 8-hour days, but they have to go to night meetings, they have to go to select board meetings. I would like to see that raised to 35 hours, so it gives them 3 hours that they can use to go to meeting out there. Sometimes they have to drive far away to get back late at night. Other than that, I think the job description, everything can stay the same. So Dan, I don't know if you agree, disagree, or if you want to add anything.
Yeah, man, I was putting that range in there based on experience. 35 hours is fine with me. I did do a little research myself, and put a copy for you in Portland. Thanks. Just some ideas for a look at what other towns are offering for jobs in that field. And there's few different pages of responsibilities that pulled that from 3 different ads. So whether we kind of like pick and choose what we want to put in our ad, like one town was very minimal, another town had a little bit more, and one town listed quite a few things for responsibilities. So just kind of food for thought.
Okay.
And I did like one town, one heading ahead, it said, "The town administrator needs to exhibit excellent leadership, impartial management, meticulous attention to detail, great judgment and accountability, skillful de-escalation of interpersonal conflict, the ability to tactfully deal with disgruntled employees and residents, and the tendency to unite town employees and residents over common goals." I really like that, kind of, to have something like that in the ad.
Yeah, that's,
I think,
I like that also.
Yeah, I have no issues, I think on both fronts with the job description and, yeah, I agree on the 75,000. I think if we're gonna attract good quality candidates, I think unfortunately in this day and age, it's inevitable. You've gotta raise the salary, you've gotta make it a little more appealing. Obviously, the town of Adams is currently in a search for a new town administrator as well. Obviously, we're not financially even in the same, ballpark, I think, compensation-wise of what they're gonna be able to offer. But I think, like I said, I think we've got to at least make it attractive enough to get somebody qualified to express a serious amount of interest.
The one we have in a small town, I don't know if a lot of people know this, I used to bring it up in the 90s and something all the time, but we're now up to a point where $1 on our tax rate only raises about $158,000. That's peanuts. So that's why we have to be careful. You can't just say, okay, we're gonna match other towns and start increase somebody's salary by thousands of dollars, because I'd say $158,000 is not a lot of money, and $1 on a tax rate is a lot of money to residents. So I just want everyone to know that, and everyone to keep that in mind. I don't know, if anybody really knows that or really thought about it, but I think about it constantly. It's a balancing act, and it's not easy.
I do feel like thinking we should post this on Indeed and Berkshire Jobs to kind of hit both spots, to get the most out to get it out there. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
No, I agree. I think cast as wide a net as possible, and obviously try to reach as many people as we can.
Okay. So we agree, $35, we agree with a range of 70 to 75, depending on experience. I do like the first paragraph here. I don't know, I guess I'm one that would rather keep it condensed, but obviously touch on the points. And then in interviews, we can discuss more things. I don't know how your feeling is on that, Colton.
Yeah, that's fine. I think once we get applicants in here, that's when we can kind of increase the questions.
So maybe that first responsibility, that one was pretty much short. I had 3 bullet points to it.
Yeah.
Qualification, I just copy pasted that from another ad. Then I had that 5 years municipal management experience in there, just
Yeah,
maybe preferred.
yeah, so I can read this.
The only question we do have with qualifications, just so we don't necessarily limit ourselves completely on the residency requirement, is there any willingness to maybe expand it to a 5 or 10 mile radius to basically northern Berkshires, just to, I guess, to see?
I mean, we could take that line now. That was just a,
I think, which I understand, I think during the police chief interviews, it was, I think that specifically was, kind of a discussion, I think, quite extensively, because all of our applicants, or majority of the applicants came from quite a ways away. So I do understand, I think, the want need for that, but I wouldn't necessarily, hold too firm on the residency requirement, I think, initially. But I think at least somewhere within the general northern Berkshire range.
Yeah, I don't disagree, because but within a 5 to 10 mile, I won't go further than that, because when our emergencies, we do count on the town administrator to be here quickly, but if somebody from North Adams certainly can.
Sure, I think housing options in town are few and far between. It seems as though as soon as a house goes on the market, it's usually scooped up pretty quick, so.
Another bullet point on here that we think is very important, nowadays, little towns especially, again, we can't raise taxes to build big things and to do things, so we have to have debt exclusions, or we rely on grants. So, we have in here that we're looking for somebody that can be a grant writer, that's written grants. I will just say the state has made it easier with their one-step program. A lot of it now is on the computer, and you fill in blanks and things. So I do think the state realizes the small towns can't afford to hire, professional grant writers, but we did have that in there. Strong organizational skills, I think, is important. Excellent communication skills, which I think is very important. I think daily, the town staff should be talking to each other, and if there's an issue, gosh, attack the issue before it mushrooms out. The quicker you start an issue, the easier it can be solved, and I think that's very important. Strong etiquette, phone etiquette, service skills, ability to work independent and part of a team, and some administrative experience of 5 years. So that's what sounds like that's what we're going to go with?
Yeah.
Okay, but Michelle, do you want to add anything to that, or have anything? Chuck?
Going through the budget process, the budget was cut as lean as it could be. Where's this, let's say he's at 63 or we're going to 75, there's 12 grand. Where's it coming from?
It is already in the budget, because last year, we went through it, we put the 75,000 budget in it for this fiscal year, so we're covered already for that.
And that's when we had a discussion with Carl on what we expect a little bit of a half-baked review, but it was at least gave him some direction where we thought he should improve and where he was doing well. But so the money is there for this year. Okay, if there's no other, Susan?
Yeah, how many hours does Carl do?
Well, again, it's 32, but he definitely puts in money. He goes every
How
selectman
many
meeting.
does he actually put in?
I don't know actually, because what happens, sometimes when people work over, they'll come in late the next day or whatever. And I think we all trust Carl that, we know he's not going to cheat the town. He's very dedicated. So I really don't know how he balances that out, or anybody
Right,
else.
yeah.
So again,
I'm sure he goes above and beyond.
he does, and I'm also not a micromanager. As long as jobs are getting done, and I see people here when, come down and everything like this, I assume that they're on the up and up, and people keep an eye on one another too. So people know when people are cheating the system or whatever. Okay, if that's all for that, I'd like to move on to the next item. Any other comments? Craig?
Why did you budget 75,000?
Because Carl asked for that,
Okay.
and,
And that was back in May, correct?
yeah.
The very first meeting, we were under contract negotiations, and he says, when my contract comes up, he's like, I'm gonna be asking for this. We pretty much, we don't know what direction we're gonna be going at that time, the pay rise. We'll put it in there as a safety net, so it's there if we need it. If we don't use it all, it goes to free cash. So that's why I was there. That was a,
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. I do appreciate a good communication, and I'm gonna make sure that the board is also open as much as possible. All right, next on the agenda, I forgot my glasses. Set the town tax rate, Emily. I know we're not ready to do that, so we're gonna table this next Monday. Is that okay with you?
I
Hopefully.
think you should push it off one more week.
All right. I'll tell you what, I'll leave it on, do just what we did, I'll leave it on just in case things fall into place.
Okay.
And if not, you don't even have to bother coming. If not, we'll just table it the following week. Or actually, the problem would meet the 1st and 3rd. So if we don't do it next Monday, we could have a special meeting, need be, because we have to get that tax rate set when you're ready. So you just let us know, but I will put it on the agenda when we meet, and if you're not here, we'll table it.
Okay.
All right. Next is, we're going to discuss the 22D real estate. Oh, John?
Can I just ask a general question about the, setting the tax rate?
Yes.
Because I know they've come around and people have been reassessed. This is the reassessment time, so I've already been like reassessed. When you set the tax rate, because I've been reassessed, will I be taxed on that rate or will it be after everybody's been assessed?
That's a good question, and I'm glad you did, because I had other people ask me, as a matter of fact, my wife asked me, because we were all so evaluated, she said, well, should we go on last? You know?
So the entire town has been reassessed. If you got the inspection, you know your card is up to date. Those that did not book an inspection to get their house looked at, their values most likely still went up. Every single house in the town of Clarksburg went up, and that's strictly based on the market, because houses are just selling for a lot more than what we have them assessed at. So that's, when we set the tax rate, the new assessments is what you will be taxed on.
So when you set the tax rate, it's based on the assessment of the whole town, so you know what the town is assessed at, you know, $8 million or whatever. You'll set the tax rate, yeah.
Chuck, you can take an extra 3 or?
And hopefully, when I come back and say $1 on tax rate, it'll raise more than $158,000 or whatever it is.
But, so, okay, so when you talk about the card, what's the card?
Every property in the town has a property record card that talks about the features of your property, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what's the square footage, is it a ranch, a colonial, what neighborhood is it in, what street is it on?
So could we go to the town now and look at our card?
Yes.
So we know what, like, I was assessed, I'll know what my new assessment
The
is.
assessments are not there yet.
Oh, they're not there?
Nope,
Okay.
they won't be there until after the first of the year.
Okay, then we have that 30 days.
Yes, you have till February 1st to file for an abatement.
Okay, so thank you, Emily. And then the next on the agenda is the 22D real estate exemption discussion. I do have that in front of me. Is this just something we have to approve? Did you want to explain it, or you have anything you want to add?
So on 22D, there's only one person in the town of Clarksburg that would qualify for it. It's just for a widow of a veteran. The veteran died due to being in the service. And it's just gives her an exemption on her taxes, so she wouldn't have to, she would be exempt from them.
Okay, so you just need us to make a motion and approve it?
Yes.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that's it for tonight. We can adjourn the meeting at 5:41.
Motion adjourned.